If I'm not overthinking, if I'm not dreaming, you're not listening. You are asleep, and I keep talking off the monologue, and I keep talking off the monologue, and I keep talking off the monologue, and I keep talking off the
Welcome to Off the Monologue. I'm your host, the Welsh kid from the block. Though, if you're family or friends, you'll know me as Aaron. This is the very first episode of the podcast, so today is just really about introducing myself, explaining what the podcast is, and giving you an idea of where it's going. Before anything else, though, I want to talk about why this podcast exists. I've always been someone who goes off on tangents when I talk. I'll start talking about something, get reminded of something else, and suddenly I'm talking about something completely different, but somehow it links back into the topic I'm talking about. For a long time, I thought that was a bad thing, like I needed to stay on topic, be more structured, or be more polished, but then I realised that's just how my brain works. So instead of fighting it, I thought, why not build a podcast around it? That's where Off the Monologue came from. About me. Since this is the first episode, I'll start with a few things about myself so you know who you're listening to and watching. I'm a Taurus. Make of that with what you'll do. I don't massively believe in star signs, but at the same time, some of the traits line up a bit too well, which is slightly concerning. I'm a massive rugby and Formula 1 fan though, and I also play rugby myself. Rugby is a huge part of my life, not just watching it, but playing it as well, as it's one of those things that clears your head. When you're on that pitch, nothing else really matters in that moment. It teaches discipline, teamwork, and how to deal with pressure, which is honestly carries over into everyday life. Formula 1 is something I've loved for different reasons. Once you actually get into it, it's not just cars going fast, it's strategy, pressure, timing, and how one tiny mistake can change everything. I find that side of it really interesting. I've also recently started getting into other motorsports like GB4, which kind of opens a whole new rabbit hole. Outside of motorsports, I also follow the NFL, the NBA, and darts, which I think is massively underrated and doesn't get the respect it deserves, same as Garen Price. Interests and personal life. I love comics, and I definitely prefer physical media over digital media. There's just something about actually holding something, books, comics, DVDs, that feels more real, if that makes sense. It slows things down a bit, and I like that, especially in a world where everything is instant. I have 2 dogs, called Molly and Bo, and yes, they are very spoilt. I'm currently studying media at college, and long term, I'd love to work in sports media, specifically around rugby and Formula 1. Sports media has always interested me, not just because I love sport, which is a big part, but also because of how stories are told, how narratives are built, and how media can shape the way people see athletes, teams, and even themselves. Media and real issues. In media, my goal this year and next year is to push myself by creating projects that focus on real issues. I've already started doing this with my digital movie, Beauty Standards, and I'm also working on a documentary about substance misuse. I don't want to just make content for the sake of ticking a box or getting a grade. I want my work to actually mean something. A lot of issues, especially ones affecting young people, don't get spoken about properly. Probably. Sorry, I can't get my words out today. Until they become serious problems, and I think media has a responsibility to at least start those conversations. I'm not an expert, I don't have all the answers, but I do think that talking honestly is better than staying silent. What is Off the Monologue? So, what actually is this podcast? Off the Monologue is a chill, talking style podcast. Each episode starts with one topic, within a topic, within another topic. It's so if you like listening to people rant, reflect, overthink, or actually accidentally make points they didn't plan to make, then this podcast is probably for you. Some episodes will be light-hearted, talking about rugby, Formula One, sports culture, opinions, and random thoughts. Other episodes will be heavier, things like substance misuse, pressure on young people, identity, mental health, and how media affects the way we see ourselves. No matter the topic, the aim is always the same: honesty. I'm not just here to preach or pretend I know everything. I don't. I just want to talk, reflect, and hopefully start conversations. What comes next? This episode is just an introduction. The next few episodes will be more relaxed, mostly sports focused, talking about rugby, Formula One, motorsports, whatever comes up along the way. As the podcast progresses, the topics will get deeper and more serious, but without losing that chill conversational feel. Some of the serious topics include substance misuse, the negatives of social media, suicide, and many more. These are just a few, and the reason I chose them is because I don't think they get talked about enough, and I want to start the conversation or thought than shutting it down. Whether you're here for the sports talk, or the random tangents, or the deeper discussion, there's always something in Off the Monologue for you. I want to come off script quickly though, because I've got a script, that's why I keep looking off screen. But I think it's really, with like podcasts, it's you don't hear, there's one's focused on Formula One, one's focused on rugby, motorsports, and it's never really ones where they sit down, talk about an issue, talk about one topic. And I think it's really important we have more of them. And it's not a lot of podcasts that talk about issues with young people. And I won't feel like I could do that because I love talking. Ask any friends or family, they will tell you, I yap, I will get to the point, I will come across my opinion no matter the topic. And definitely when it comes to serious topics, I will lay it out. I will say how it is. I want to be the person to start conversation because I remember Christmas 2022 I think it was 2020. So when we were in lockdown, I just started to get back into rugby, started picking up the hobby again, and that's when I discovered my favourite rugby player, Alfie. And it's the thing with he 2019 coming to the end, he came out and said, "Look, I've got HIV," and he has this whole campaign called Tackling HIV, which is tackling the stigma. And by me being a fan of his, and obviously I love Queen, Freddie Mercury, it was Christmas, we were down my nan's, with my uncle, my parents, and we started the conversation. Just came up lightly because that year as well, I had Al's first book, Proud, and we just naturally started talking about it. And I think the conversation ended up going on for 3 hours, I think. Well, it was very long, right? And that started the thing, and we all actually educated each other with what we already knew about it. And then we all came to an understanding, and then we mentioned George Michael and then Freddie, and started going into more detail about that, the advert, tackling the stigma, and then, yeah, and I think we need more people like Alf who starts that conversation in households. Yes, I may only have been 12, but we started that conversation all because I was a fan of Alf, and I want to be that sort of person, where like parents know me and go, you know how so-and-so mentioned this, and be that conversation starter in the house, because I think it's really important for people to start conversations on serious matters so they know their children, their grandparents, parents, aunties, uncles, cousins, whatever, has a better understanding on what the topic is, because it's really important so that everyone's understanding on things, definitely when it comes to like substance misuse, mental health issues, suicide. All that is very important to get educated on. Of course, I will always have the light-hearted episodes and that, but it's always important to have bigger topics to talk about, so then you actually start the conversation and get other people educated with the knowledge. Like, I will always, when I talk about these really heavy topics, I will always make sure I do my education, have my laptop out, so I have my research in front of me, so I can give people the right information and not an uneducated information, because it's the best way to go. Like today, even though this is an introduction and I do go off topics like I am, well, I'm not going off topic, but I'm going off on a tangent. I had a script. I'm not fully finished with the script, but it helps me just to know roughly what I want to talk about with you guys. Some of the topics we will be going in, I know I've roughly mentioned them, but like the two I mentioned, rugby and Formula One. The others will be things schools don't teach you, are extreme sports getting too dangerous, recent exams. Recent exams I picked physically because I'm recent in my English. I'm in my second year in college, and I'm recent in GCSE English. Many people panic and overthink that, like I did. I overthought that last year. And I think it's important to people to know that it doesn't matter if you're recent in your exams. You can have an attempt and after attempt until you get that grade. I will also be talking about fitness culture, how sports shape identity. Does music help with overthinking? Unpopular opinions, getting out of your own head. There'll be true crime and culture. We'll be doing a deep dive into Ted Bundy, Jack the Ripper. We will also be talking about concert experiences, why I chose to study media, the rivalry in Formula One, Alan vs Prost. We will also be talking about fear of wasting your life, as many people's biggest fear is thinking they'll waste their life on unnecessary things. Money shame, overconsumption. Is growing up actually getting harder? Why some rivalries never die? The Zodiac Killer, mental health, discrimination, and there's many more. And some of them can be very light-hearted, as you can see, but some of them can be quite heavy. But I want to have that contrast that not every episode is really sad and low, but where you can have some light-hearted episodes and just breathe and relax and kind of act like you're talking with me like we are right now. And I'm also always think it's always better to have an idea about what you want to do with your topic, and to just, if you need to go off a bit, go off, and it's just a rough plan of what you want to do. And that's kind of what I've done. That's why I keep looking off their screen a bit. It's because you're on my laptop. I've got that roughly, so then I can go, right, okay, this is sort of what I want to talk about. But if I need to go off topic, I can. And that's the whole point of Off the Monologue is I have one certain topic, and then I go off and just start talking about that. And if I come up with an idea or, oh, I need to get this, and then I will talk about it. But I always will start off with a plan, start talking about that, and then if something else appears, I can go, you know what? I think that will be a good thing to talk about, and then I'll add on. And because sometimes that's where I do a plan, and then when I'm recording, something else will come to my head, and I think that's a perfect thing to do, and I always do that. And yeah, but other facts about me that I did not mention include I have done another podcast, which I did with my friends last year in media. It didn't last long, but it was called Brasilia. That I will link on YouTube in the description of this podcast video. YouTube will be the only place you can find this, I have decided, because yeah, it's just easier, and I think YouTube will be the best source to reach out to more people. But yeah, I have been in a podcast before. That was really fun, but it gave me a feeling of why don't I? Because I went on so many quests of talking about off topic. I thought it would be nice to do one on my own. Took me a year, but I done it. But I'm doing my solo one now, so I'm actually really excited about that. Favorite F1 drivers, Daniel Ricciardo, and as I said, favorite rugby player is Alfie, but his actual name is Gareth Thomas. He gets known better by his nickname Alf. And I think, whoa, I just breathed into that. I'm so sorry. Yeah, and I don't know. I've gone on such a tangent now. I don't know what I'm saying, but but if you think it's more about me, my dogs, because I already mentioned that. Molly is my eldest. She is the Chihuahua. Bo is the youngest. She's the Chalky. They honestly are my whole world. I love them to bits, and they are my little babies. I call them my fur siblings, as I'm an only child. So in a way, they are my little siblings. I love them, and I will always love them. You'll have to try and win me over, honestly, because they're my main priority half the time. As you can see up on my wardrobe, I've got tons of ducks. Also, though, I've got Marvel Funko Pop. I'm a massive Marvel fan. I've got posters as well, which is you can see a bit of the Witcher one that I have, and right behind me, right there, is my Deadpool one. My favorite comic characters are Deadpool and Wolverine. They will always be my favorite, no matter what. You know, I love. I don't know what it is, but I just love them characters in particular, and just the comic style. I also love the Deadpool and Wolverine movies, always will. And I've been a fan of Hugh Jackman as well, so I've been a big fan of Hugh since I want to say 6 years old. So I'm now 17, going on 18, so I've been a fan of Hugh for ages. It's just something about his acting style I like, because definitely when I was 11, I saw The Greatest Showman. Seen that 15 times, all-time favourite movie, so it's something that drew me, and his acting was one thing I really liked in that movie. I think the first movie of his I actually saw, I want to say was The rats in the sewer, their animated movie. It was that, I never remember what that's called, but that was like my, I'm like, ooh, he's a very good actor. So I like that. A bit more why I want to do sports media. Sports media is something I want to do because when I was younger, all I wanted to do was media, media, media. But then, as I got older, I just wanted to do something with sports. Started playing rugby. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a rugby player when I'm older. I'm going to play for Wales. I'm going to play for the Dragons. But then, I started going off. I was like, nah, rugby's more just a hobby. Oh, I'll be a rugby referee instead. But then I was like, no, I don't want to be a rugby ref. I'll be a rugby coach instead, coaching for the Dragons, coaching for Wales. But then I was like, that's not my sort of thing. And this was around year 11 where I was like, I need to get my life sorted. What do I want to do? So I thought, I'll go into college, I'll do level 2 media and then sort my life from there. And I thought, know what? I'm going to go on and do level 3 media. And then I was like, why don't I do sports media? It's the link between two things I love, and then I can bring them in together. And then I was like, I can do sports media and two sports I love. They are my favourite sports, rugby and Formula 1. And I was like, this is going to be perfect. I can do it. I started looking like uni courses. There's a uni course that does sports media. So I was like, okay, let's go. I'll do that, because then it gives me that experience I need. And I was like, this is going to be what I need. This is what I'm doing. Off the Monologue, though, is hopefully going to be aiming to be an hour, half an hour long. This one's probably just going to be under half an hour, as it's the introduction, so I don't have a lot to talk about. But we're aiming for half an hour, and filming these whenever I can because of college and that. So I think. Is it? I think it's aunt. I don't know. See, you're going to get loads of these in episodes where I can't pronounce words and I'm confusing myself. Don't mind my Prince posters fell down. I love that poster. But anyway, see, I get distracted a lot as well. That's another thing with me, is I get distracted very easily in conversations. So bear in mind. But yeah, Off the Monologue will be trying to aim half an hour the most, because I think that'll be perfect length, and it's just like a conversation. You can get more into an hour, half an hour long conversation podcast, because it gets you to get a better understanding. I can't get my words. But yeah, this one, introductions, is probably just going to be just under half an hour, currently coming up to 22 minutes. But I want to end it here because I'm rambling on, don't know what to say. So let's get back onto the script. If you made it to the end of the episode, I really appreciate it. This podcast is still new, still finding its feet, and still evolving. But I'm excited to see where it goes. If you enjoyed it, stick around for the next episode. This is Off the Monologue. I'll catch you in the next one.
If I'm not overthinking, if I'm not dreaming.